Says I'm no case. Me had them did say a cop by 40 million. You can cast all the one matter to Kwame Nkrumah Bekaya ne Nkurmah. Then they will have never 30 million. Yeah, I'm facing 64 years. Sabi assassin be make Nyame agudi audition assassin. Natural resources be make I near for 1957. And I'm saying make a developing country leadership challenges. Near ma kakra na ho your friends say football na treasury ni oh yan tiabo yan siasa ne back for ne atimia nante
Ashase tu mega
ye fiti preko abe yan panimfo bu be say ufiri in term policy dia na ba ni moja tipo amani huni economy and working social mobility unemployment need and but challenges na ya rush kakra yes e benya vision this year sorry the moment I'm planning ye na kiki ahoma man no be you nkanka for say akosisa foreign cultures ni ideologies bi anya nsia ya ntie ye hu na de kura ni nti hofo no fa ideology no ni aptinti na pese de be share so ha no na aka hona I mean until be back fix it to send it yeah magic wand be near there like I said politics on from Manubia
Wafa, you know when you're arguing. Once again, you know when you're arguing. Two parts. You're trying to blame the economic mismanagement after 64 years that if it's preoccupied in your policy and a mojabai, and you're not correct. It's not true. With all due respect, it's not true. You cannot blame how Kwame Nkrumah set Ghana up to develop Ghana. You cannot blame that. You cannot even try and put the blame on how we try to industrialize Ghana. Come on. And then we had a lot of educated people in Ghana at that time. The white American, when they came to Ghana, they were chuffed that even the taxi driver could read the newspaper, could speak English. And they have this sort of Queen's English. Sometimes when I listen to some of these old videos and see how those educated class in the 50s and 60s, the way they speak, it's just like the way white people speak, it's because of the kind of education they had. And we have intention, but my point is that Kwame Nkrumah didn't rush, number one. He didn't rush. He had, do you know of the 5 and 7 year development plan? He had a 5-year development plan. When he finished that one, he had a 7-year development plan. It was a 7-year development plan. And then he was overthrown. So did Kwame Nkrumah rush to build the Akosombo Dam as well? Even that you people don't focus for you people, you people. Kwame Nkrumah chemi over to prison. You over Kodan so actually my grand uncle, my mother's uncle. You be your penny pa. I know the idea with Siakwa. It's Siakwa Kunyan yet. Of a penny for the Kwame Nkrumah. No offer. A couple if yes. Because no ye you penny or PPNI Progress Party in the 60s. So my point is that I'm not talking because I'm an Nkrumah, no. But as I grew up, I became open-minded. I decided to research more about the things that Nkrumah was doing. Although I was very young, I was born in the 60s, but I was very young. I didn't see much of what was happening then. So As an educated person, I did my own research. I went into the British Hansard parliamentary debate. Kwame Nkrumah wasn't Russian. Kwame Nkrumah was a visionary. Kwame Nkrumah had a foresight because even building the Akosombo Dam, the British government, they have no intention to build the dam. They knew they could build a dam, but they had no intention of doing it. And the Second World War actually broke the camel's back. The British were, I don't want to bore you with that history, but the history is there. If you want to research into it, you find out the impediments in the way of the things that they should have been doing for Ghana, they weren't doing. So Kwame Nkrumah believed that having the power independence will give us the overall control of what we can do. Even the Akosombo Dam, like I'm saying, you people campaigned strongly against it. That is wasting money. Hindsight, did he rush with the Akosombo Dam as well? If you want to industrialize your country, you need power, electrical power. He didn't build the factories because there wasn't the need for the production of the things that he was building factories for. We needed those things to develop. We needed those things to be self-sufficient and develop. I'll roll your audio and hope that you say something that Thomasun, but he invested the money. One fan call, Sebi, Dubai. He didn't give it to slave queens. He didn't steal the money to be buying houses in Dubai and outside Ghana and stealing the resources of the country and slashing them all over the place. He didn't do that. He used the resources, the money, to build factories, invested it to pay itself off. Akosombo Dam, he said it was too much. But Akosombo Dam has paid itself off and making a lot of profit. And you guys are misusing the profit of the Akosombo Dam VRA. You were president for 8 years. What did you use the revenues of VRA to do? That is the legacy of Kwame Nkrumah. You were president for 8 years, from January 2001 to January 2009. What did you use the resources of the Tema motorway to do? Did you use it to rehabilitate the motorway and put street lights back on the motorway again? Because when I was growing up in the 70s, the motorway was littered. What did I say? It was littered. It was toll. And the motorway you claim was too expensive, blah, 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 blah. You spoke against it, but the motorway has paid itself off and making a lot of profit. And the resources of the toll that you collect from the motorway, what have you used it for? Did he rush as well? Opetru one is sin and a moja bayana. So let's find no current to baby and no. You cannot blame the mess you people have contributed consistently from 1981 and created a huge mess in Ghana on Kwame Nkrumah. A champion, even the unsung hero. The Tema Telecom now by now beton here. Who set it up? A champion set it up in 1974 there. 74, 75 there. Tema Telecom was established by a champion. The unsung hero. So you guys came to meet something instead of you mobile buying to add value to it, privatization. You claim some nonsense, excuse my French, of property-owning democracy. When ordinary people cannot afford to make ends meet, how do they own properties? How do they? This is not even ideological. It's common sense here. You help the weak until they become strong. It is basic common sense. That is what all developed countries did. Those who call themselves capitalists and all that crap, that is what they did. The British industrialization, the French industrialization, the Japanese industrialization, the American industrialization, all of them, the Singapore, later day Saint Singapore and Malaysia and all the rest of them, the Asian tigers, all of them, they helped the weak until they became strong. They provided housing for their citizenry. They provided shelter for their citizenry, rented accommodation. They helped them. And they provided food at an affordable cost of living. And they provided healthcare, and they provided education free at the point of access. These are the four cardinal areas that sees a country develop from the quagmire of despair and underdevelopment to the plains of development. But you guys collectively, from 1981, you've messed up the country for 40 years. Leave Kwame Nkrumah and Achampon and Buzia out of this mess. Because kakra no be no onbo bibi hu ban. They created something. What they created, no, irrespective of their flaws and their weaknesses, no, what they created, no, what have you guys done with it? You messed everything up. Divestiture list started with Rollins messing everything, selling state assets and factories like Kilewilly, just destroying everything, starving and making these SOEs, state-owned enterprises, virtually unprofitable. And then you sell it to your competitors and then they run it down because they don't want it to operate. I mean, you can't blame Kwame Nkrumah for the mess we find ourselves in economically. You cannot do that. With all due respect. Wafa Brapini Diewuo, you can't do that. Kwame Nkrumah did his bit. In fact, he did more than his bit. He set Ghana up. If these guys that followed him, they rolled out the 7-year development plan and stick to it. Go and look at the 7-year development plan and ask yourself whether he rushed. He didn't rush. He had a vision for the country. That's the same thing Singapore was doing in 1965. Singapore was independent in 63 or thereabout 65, because it was part of Malaysia and decided to be independent. They didn't have water, nothing. In 1968, Singapore had become comfortable enough to speak truth to power to the Americans, not to interfere in their affairs. You think what gave them that balls to do that? Lee Kuan Yew had a vision. He quickly rolled it out. After Singapore coming out of Malaysia, Malaysia stopped their water supply. Singapore had to find water. They were importing water. I was growing up in Tema. From the early 70s upwards, we didn't have any issues with water, electricity. There were street lights, accommodation okay, transportation okay. Nobody was complaining about these things. They were just things that we took for granted. Kwame Nkrumah set a city, built a whole city from scratch. Industrial area of Tema, the Tema Harbour, everything was booming there. There were factories, OBVAs and 7. Now, free, wherever they are, they come to Tema Pet, they get a job. unless you don't want to work. They get a job straight away. In the 70s, even 70s, we had our own challenges there and then. So, let's stick to the issue. Stop blaming Kwame Nkrumah for anything. You can't go there. When you go there, like I'm saying, you're gonna have a backlash which you don't deserve. You're a statesman. We want to give you that respect. The oldest statesman we have now. Stick to bringing the country together and saying things that you know are really wrong that can be fixed. Because there are a lot of things that can be fixed. You contributed to some of them. And sometimes, as you sit back and reflect, you should even come out and say, during my time, I probably should have done this and this and that. And I expect and I plead with the government of the day to start doing it because most of them were part of my government as well. We fail to do these things. These things are the there's no smoke without fire. It is there's some fire underneath the smoke. So let's kill off that fire and let's fix this. Let's patch everything so that we can really have a strong foundation for growth. Don't do this without due respect. Let's keep the respect we have for you as the oldest statesman now and bring the country together. Don't play a subtle sort of partisan politics. Leave Kwame Nkrumah alone. Because the things that he did, none of you can compare to him. The things forget about the factory, the houses he built, the roads, the dam, the schools, everything he did, none of you. You may say he was left with a lot of money, but he utilized the money. He utilized the money efficiently. Most of it he utilized it efficiently. I'm not saying he was perfect. I'm not saying everything Kwame Nkrumah did was right. I've got some issues with him, But in your bonitofa, in the final analysis, if you look at the morale of Kwame Nkrumah's reign, he is not comparable. None of you can compare yourself to Kwame Nkrumah for the things he did. Because some of you had the opportunity to do far more better than you did. You had debt relief. What do I say? You the Ghana car, most of it, you the chair. By the time you were leaving, you still accumulated some debt again. So you had the Ghana chair. Then within 3 years when we were going, we were still owing some 9 million or something like that. Sorry, 9 billion. Is it 9 million? $9 billion or something like that. Within 3 years or 4 years. It's not compared to what we are owing now. But when you have had a chance to have such debt, friends saying, what's the right word they use for it? Debt cancellation, yes. Debt cancellation. Most of it by the partners and IMF and the World Bank and stuff like that. You had a lot of debt cancellation. And then immediately you went out there to accumulate more debt. What is that? We know, but when you see, the problem that we are struggling is because you say the private sector must be the engine of growth. But I can't be now private sector engine of growth. It's not there. You have to help the weak until they become strong. The private sector of Ghana, they don't bloody have the money to be competitive on the global stage. But we don't know. You use it to pay bills. When you use it to pay bills, then you come and blame Kwame Nkrumah say, or misuse Sika. How? And also, Men kasasa. Yebupa men kasasa. Anyway, this is your brother Waike. God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation greater and stronger. God bless you for listening.